Hello again, guys. Back again, and today I'm back with a series that I actually missed last week for one reason or another. It's Top 5 Wednesday, and today the theme is Top 5 books set in your region or area or country. Now, my main issue here is that most of the books I've read in the past are sci-fi fantasy style books that aren't set in the real world, so it's really restricted what I've got to talk about in this video. So I've gone with the broader term of books that were set in my country, because that just gives me a lot more scope to talk about books that I've actually read. And as much as I'd love to live in some fantasy realm with elves and dwarves and magic, that's not true. So we've got to go with Yorkshire, England instead. So the thing I'm going to pick as number 5 on my list is actually one of my guilty pleasure series from when I was a teenager. It's the CHERUB series by Robert Muchamore. So these are quintessentially British. It's very young James Bond in style. It's basically a series about a group of mostly orphans or abandoned kids who are basically trained by the government to be spies and do the kinds of jobs that adults can't do, to infiltrate families by making friends with the kids and those kinds of things. And it's a really, really enjoyable series. It is a bit trashy, but I don't care because I've always enjoyed the stories and the characters. And it is very British. It's very set in British colloquialisms, and it's got a lot of British slang and terminology, and I really like that. And even though it does stretch beyond and go international, the basic concept of the book is set in Britain, and it's very, very British in style, so that's one that I'm definitely going to pop on this list. Number 4 is going to be a book I've talked about a few times on this channel. That's starting to happen a lot more now, but it's what's going to happen as time goes on anyway. It's Half Bad by Sally Green. So, what I really like about this book, and quite a lot of the others coming up, is that they are fantastical books, entirely make-believe and completely unrealistic, but set in the real world. So this book is about witches and magic and other realms, and it's set in Britain. They go around different British cities, and it's all about how this witch society is kind of integrated with what we see as normal society. So I think that's really interesting because it makes it relatable, because you can know those locations, you know what our society's like, but really clever about how she slots in the other half, the witch society. So I think that's one that does that really well, and that's why that's number 4 on my list. Number 3 on my list is a book that does the exact same thing. It's The Quick by Lauren Owen. So this is set in Victorian England and moves from Yorkshire to Victorian London. So obviously that's one of the most quintessentially British periods, Victorian London. And again, this is about an underworld of magical creatures set against Victorian England, and it's really cleverly done. Again, it incorporates fantastical elements with real world elements, and this again does it in a really good way, and I think this just gets a slightly higher place because it's so much more atmospheric, and the setting is a bigger aspect of this book than it is of Half Bad. Both do it really well, but this just takes the edge for me. Number 2 is again a very similar book series, and it's going to be Harry Potter, because in much the same way as The Quick and Half Bad, it incorporates this extra magical world really, really cleverly with what we believe and see as our society. So you've got all the things with the Ministry of Magic hidden in plain sight in London, things like Platform 9 3/4 in King's Cross. It's all real world stuff that you can imagine and you know about, but it connects so well to this magical other realm of magic. That was a great sentence. That it works really, really well, and I think they are the settings that really appeal to me most, and I think Harry Potter is one of the best examples ever of doing that. Last up is probably one of the most typically British novels ever written. It's one I've talked about in the past as one of my favourite novels. It's Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. So this is set, actually, it's never specifically mentioned, as far as I'm aware, whereabouts it is, but you've got to assume from the description of the moors and the location, it's got to be somewhere around Yorkshire. It's where I am at the minute. So I love it for that aspect. It's something I can really visualise and recognise from where I am. At the same time, it's really atmospheric and gothic and Victorian and British, and I think it incorporates the setting in a physical location, but also a setting in the mood sense, and it does it in a really, really good way. And I think if you're looking for atmosphere and the importance of setting in a book, and especially a British setting, you're never going to get that better than you do in Wuthering Heights. So there you have it, my Top 5 Wednesday for this week. It was one I thought I was going to struggle a lot more with than I actually did in the end. Once I'd given myself the free rein to kind of use worlds which are real world and fantasy world mingled together, I think it became a really, really easy list for me to make, and I'm really happy with the choices I've made. If any of you have read any of the books I've mentioned, or they're in your top 5s as well, let me know in the comments down below. And otherwise, just leave a like and subscribe. That'd be really appreciated. I'm edging towards 100 subscribers now, and I'm getting quite excited about getting there. My Goodreads and Twitter are going to be down below as well. And I'll also add the link into the Goodreads group for all the top 5 Wednesdays. And I will be back next week with the top 5 Wednesday, I promise. I'm not going to miss any more, so don't worry, I'll see you then, if not before.